All right, so this is going on page 36 when we are done. So yesterday we composed functions. We put functions together. And at the bottom of the notes there was a little tiny section on decomposing functions, and I said we're going to wait on that, and I reorganized all of this because one of the good things about teaching calculus now is I took lots of calculus classes way back in the day, and I know what the math is. I can do the math, but I don't really think about what some of these things that we do, why they're so important before you get to calculus. And this is one of them, the decomposing of functions. Now, do we sit around and decompose functions all day in calculus? No, we don't. But being able to see one function inside of another is important for some of the things that may happen. Okay, so I wanted to spend a little bit more time on this and make sure we understood the concept. So decomposing is just like undoing, right? We're going the backwards way. In some cases, it's necessary to decompose a function. In other words, we can write it as a composition of two simpler functions. And then this is important. There may be more than one way to decompose a composite function. There can be more than one answer. There can be more than two answers. It depends on the function. Okay? So what we are looking for is, so it says find two functions, f and g, such that f of g of x equals h of x, then check. Okay, so we are given h of x. We want to undo it. And one of the reasons I like the compositions being written like this is because I think you can see a little bit better what's inside. G of x is inside of f of x, right? So when I'm trying to decompose this, number one, into two functions, I can look at what's inside, 1 minus 2x. And if I say, all right, I'm going to make g of x 1 minus 2x, then what do you think f of x would have to be? X cubed. Good. X cubed, right? Because then then there's a place to check it. I'm going to find f of g of x and hope that I get h of x, right? Because they're supposed to be equal. So when I take this and substitute it in here, it's more than one term, so it has to be in parentheses, and then I cube it. And I get the same thing, so check, I'm good. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, any questions on that? All right, so let's see if, does anybody see anything else I might be able to use for g of x? And I know you've never done this before, so you're not even sure what to think about it. So what if I just took 2x, and I made g of x 2x? You might have been thinking that, but didn't know if that was allowed or whatever. That's fine. So then what would f of x have to be? 1 minus x cubed. Because remember, we've got to be able to take this, substitute it in everywhere we see an x, and I would get 1 minus 2x cubed. Okay, so that's why it's good when you do this, check yourself. Even if there's not a blank and nobody's saying check yourself, you need to check yourself. Okay? Would there be other options, do you think? What if I made g of x negative 2x? Then this would be 1 plus x, yes. Okay, does that make sense? So there's another option there too. Any questions on that? All right, so let's look at number 2. So again, I'm going to kind of go with the same little process I did there. I'm going to look for what's on the inside. I personally think it's easier to come up with g of x before I come up with f of x, because you can work from the inside. Oh, it's driving me crazy. So this is x squared plus 1. Then what would f of x have to be? Cube root of x. Good. Okay. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. So then when I substitute this back in, I'm going to get the cube root of x squared plus 1. Okay. Everybody good? All right. Any questions? All right. So what do you think another g of x, a different g of x could be? X squared. Let's try x squared. Then this would have to be the cube root of x plus 1. So then when I substitute, this goes in everywhere I see an x, and that gives me the cube root of x plus 1. Oh, x squared, thank you. Thank you for calling me out. Okay. Any questions at all? Get the idea? Okay. So then let's look at number 3. What if I made g of x? What would 1 g of x be? Somebody give me something. X plus 7. Okay, so if we make g of x, x plus 7. And just to be clear, I can't randomly make g of x whatever I want. Okay? Because when I said give me one, I mean, that's correct. There's more than one right answer, but you can't just willy-nilly do anything. All right, so then if g of x is x plus 7, what do you think that makes f of x? 4 over x, good, minus 1. Okay, so then when we check that, this is going in where x is, so I get 4 over x plus 7 minus 1. Yes? Okay. Anybody have a different g of x they see? Yes, very good. I could do 4 over x plus 7. Then what would f of x have to be? X minus 1. Substitute that in there, and I get 4 over x plus 7 minus 1. Check. Check. Okay? What questions you got? We're good so far? Okay. So I'm going to give you a minute. I want you to come up with an F and a G for number 4 on your own. And if you can think of 2, go ahead and write both of them. If you see 2, it's fine, but at least come up with 1. And as I start to talk through these, know that this one has way more than 2, so don't erase what you have. What you have may not be wrong, I just may not have gotten to it yet, okay? So if I do talk about one that you don't have, I do want you to write it on here. You could just write it like underneath I didn't really think about that or give you enough room, but you could just write additional ones under there, okay? All right, so who wants to give me one option for g of x? X plus 5, okay, we can go with x plus 5, which means f of x would be plus 3. Okay. All right, do I think that works? I think that works. If you don't have that one, add that one. You don't necessarily have to add the checking part to it, but add it to whatever you have. Oh, I'm not even writing the right thing. Plus 5. Okay. Can somebody give me a different g of x that would work? On what you got?
Absolute value of x plus 5 plus 3.
Okay. Well, so then what is your f of x? Okay. What do y'all think about this one? Yeah? So let's check it. We're going to take this and we substitute it in everywhere we see an x, right? So I get negative 1/2. I have more than one term, so I have to put it in parentheses. So I get parentheses absolute value of x plus 5 plus 3. Does that work? No. Because when I distribute this, I would have to distribute that to 3. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you for answering. Please do not be afraid to be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. Y'all know that. I'm modeling that beautifully for you. I need to know what you're thinking. And I guarantee you're not the only one that is thinking that, because I get that one every single time I go through this. Okay, so let's think about how could we adjust this just a little bit to make it work. put the plus 3 over here. Put the plus 3 here and take it away from over here. And then it's very similar to A, but does it work? And it's different. So, oh my gosh. So I can substitute this in here and I get negative 1/2 absolute value of x plus 5 plus 3. And that works. All right. Does anybody have anything different than these? Because there are more. What you got? Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. Let me get a pen. Let me do, okay, so you have for f of x, negative 1/2 absolute value of x plus 5. And then what's g of x? X plus 3. What do y'all think about that? Yeah, so let's check this. If I do this, I take this and I put it into here where x is. So that's going to give me that h of x is the other way. Okay, and you have it the other way? Okay, all right. I know, I've been asking for g of x first, I was wondering. But I've gotten them backwards too. Do you understand why it works, but it's backwards? Okay, so, okay, good. I know, I'd asked for all the other ones with g of x first, and then I asked that one backwards. So if I just make this, oh my gosh, if I just make this g and this f, then we're good, right? Okay. Anybody have anything else? Yes, ma'am, what you got? Give me, here, let me write it down. Give me g of x first so I don't confuse anybody. 3? Okay, and then over here? I leave myself enough room. Okay, what do y'all think about that one? Okay, and you never minded it right when you went to go check it, right? Is that why? Okay, that's why I'm having you check it, even though, because I want you to think through that. Tell me why you said never mind. Because there's 2 x's, yes. Okay, and so this one wouldn't work. That's fine. Give me another one. What if I have, I don't think we have this up there, no. What if I had g of x is equal to negative 1/2 absolute value of x plus 5? Then what's f of x? X plus, it's not the wrong. I told you don't erase anything. X plus 3. What else did y'all have that you erased because you thought was wrong? Oh, that is that. I'm sorry. Duh. I was confused because I didn't see it. It's this one. It was just backwards one. All right, anything else? Okay, great. Now flip your paper over. And I didn't write these on there on purpose because I didn't want you working ahead of me. I want you to write for number 5. Okay, now listen very carefully to these instructions. I'm going to have you write number 5. Then the only thing that you are filling in is f and g. Do not check it. Do not write more than 1. Do not do anything else. Does that make sense? Okay. So we have the square root of 4x plus 2 plus 7. Okay, and then I want you to fill in an f and a g that you think will work for this. Okay. Everybody have something? Okay, so now I want you to take your paper and you're going to rotate it to the right. Pass it to the person to your right. Okay? All right, so now what I want you to do is I want you to take whatever they have in here, and I want you to do f of g of x with what they have. You check it, basically. You take g and substitute it into f right there in that blank. And then you put a little check on it. Or a little x, be nice with that, all right? And if you're not sure, let me know. If you think they were right, say, I think you're right, good job. You can turn to them and say that. And then if you think they're wrong, then discuss with them why you think that they're wrong. what the answer might be. Okay, so if you substitute this into here, you're going to have the square root of 4x plus 2. Okay, yeah, but on here, make sure you actually substitute it in like it was. Okay, and then make sure you know why it's not right. Okay, are we good on that one? Rotate it to the right again. You're not giving it back. You're rotating to the right. Okay, now you come up with a different f and g than what's on that paper. And you can talk to your shoulder partner if you need to get a little help on the second one. Sometimes they're more complicated, sometimes they're not. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds to come up with something for f and g. All right, then rotate it to the right. And check that one. And when you check it, literally substitute in what they have to come up with their f of g of x. Yeah, you can check your own in your head. I just want somebody else to actually write it down. It depends on if you're substituting something with more than one term, you have to put parentheses around it. Okay. So let's talk about the paper you have in front of you that may or may not be yours, and it's fine. You're going to write on whatever you have, okay? I'm going to go through, I feel like there's only 2 right answers here, but there may be more that I didn't think of, and we'll talk about those if they happen. So don't erase anything that's on that paper. They may or may not have these, but I want everybody to have the correct answers. So could I start off with g of x being 4x plus 2? Yes. And then that would mean that f of x would have to be what? Square root of x plus 7, right? Because when you check it, and you should always check your own, even if there's not a blank, even if it's just in your head, and maybe, like for me, it's safer if it's not always in my head. I'm going to take this and I'm going to substitute it in here. So I would get the square root of 4x plus 2 plus 7. And there's actually 3 options here now that I think about it. We okay with that one? Okay, so if they don't have that one on their paper, and they have stuff in these blanks, if something's blank, you can write it in. If not, just write it underneath so that they know that that's a correct answer and check on it. Okay, so what if I did 4x for g of x? Then what would f of x be? Very good. Okay, so then when I substitute it in, I get the square root of 4x plus 2 plus 7. Okay, everybody good with that? Okay, good deal. So then another one I could do, let's see, I'll fit it in right here. I'll have an f of x and a g of x. I could have that g of x is equal to the square root of 4x plus 2. And then this would be what? x plus 7. That works also. Let's talk about something that doesn't work that I saw, that somebody asked me about last period, somebody asked me about this period, or you can tell me, if I just gave it away, but I have f of x is equal to the square root of 4x plus, what was the other number? 7, thank you. Plus 7, and g of x being x plus 2. That looks tempting, right? But when you actually substitute it in, when you are substituting in something with more than one variable, you have to put parentheses around it. So this is 4 parentheses x plus 2 plus 7. And that becomes the square root of 4x plus 8 plus 7, which is not the same. Does that make sense? How could we adjust this to make this okay? Okay, but I don't want to change f of x. I want to leave f of x exactly like it is and make this and change this one only. But you're right, I could. Yeah, I can change the 2 to 1/2. If I change this to 1/2, then when I distribute, 4 times x is 4x, 4 times 1/2 is then 2. Make sense? And then that would be a perfectly fine answer, thinking outside the box a little bit, which sometimes we're going to have to think outside the box. Like if we really needed an x plus 1/2 in something we were doing, or when you're factoring stuff out, whatever, you need to be able to think through those, okay? Very good. Anything else on this one that you may have that you're not sure if it's right or you don't know why it's wrong? Anybody have anything? Okay, perfect. Then let's go back to number 6. So on whatever paper you have, whoever's paper you have, you're going to write h of x is equal to parentheses square root of x plus 4 cubed. And then you're going to come up with an f and a g and stop. Okay? The first one's usually simpler than the second one, right? Okay, pass it to the right. Substitute in what they have, whatever it is, even if they're telling you, oh my gosh, I know it's wrong. Substitute it in anyway. And then see if you can think about, just like on that last one, what we could do to fix it easily. All right. Are we good? Do we need any more time to discuss anything? Okay. Rotate it to the right. And come up with a second F and G. Talk to your shoulder partner if you need to about what another one might be if you are not sure. See a lot of staring. Discuss it with the person next to you if you're not sure. Let me know if you need help on that. Mhm. Oh, I didn't make that clear, and I didn't say. Okay, so one thing I didn't say, it just came up, is that yes, if we just make g of x x, we can leave this as it is, but we want something other than just x, and I didn't say that. I apologize. If that was already what you had on the first one, just don't do it on the second one. Okay, that's kind of a cop out there. All right, go ahead and rotate to the right, even if you don't have anything. Substitute it in. That's okay, because that was my fault. That's okay. Just pass it and you're fine. Check it, check it. That's okay. Okay, so I think on this one there's only two. I think one would be square root of x plus 4. If g of x is square root of x plus 4, what would f of x have to be? X cubed. Good. So that when I substitute this in where x is, two terms, I have to have parentheses, would look like that. Check. All right, so then I think that the only other one we have then is square root of x plus, no, just square root of x. Sorry, I already wrote that other one. Which would leave me with x plus 4 cubed. So that when I take this and I substitute it in here, I get square root of x plus 4 cubed. Anybody have anything else they either think is correct or they're not sure is correct, or one that we need to talk about? Okay, nobody even knows whose paper you have, so feel free to speak if you got something in front of you. I mean, we need to go over it. We good? Okay. See, you don't even have to flip it over to figure it out. All right, so rotate it again. You're going to write this down. Let's see, which one do I want? H of x is equal to 8 over x minus 5 squared. And once you write it down, go ahead and get an f and a g. Yeah, make sure you write it down correctly. That's important too. Run into that a few times today. Are we good? All right. So rotate and find f of g of x. All right, so if it's right, you can turn to the person you got it from and say, good job. If you're not sure if it's right or you don't think it's right, discuss with them, and maybe it is right and you're confused. We all good on this one? Uh-huh. Well, these are, yeah, that's fine, because they're two totally different things. They both work. Mm-hmm. All right, rotate. Fill in another f and g. If you have trouble coming up with another one, or even if you don't, you can discuss it with your shoulder partner. All right, now, okay. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Don't try and make it too hard. All right, rotate. Okay, we have it checked. Okay, so Humberto, give me one g of x, h of x, or f of x combination on the paper you have that's marked right. Give me the g of x first. X minus 5. And then what do you have? What is the f of x that goes with it? 8 over x squared. Okay, what do y'all think of that? Y'all agree? Yes, good job, because when we substitute this in, that'll give us 8 over parentheses x minus 5 squared. We good? Okay, so then, Alejandro, give me a different g of x that's on your paper that you think is right. Okay. And then what would my f of x be for that? 8 over x. Y'all agree with that one? Yes. Okay, so when I substitute this in here, I get 8 over x minus 5 squared. And check, check. All right, does anybody have anything different that they either think is correct or they have a question about? Yes? 2x minus what? No, because, so if I had, say that one more time. You said 8 over 1/2 x, and then make the other one 2x minus 10. Okay, so the reason the answer to that is no is because that's being squared. If you square the whole 1/2 x. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, got it. Okay, so if it looks like this, and this thing is squared like that. Yes, is that what you're asking me? Yes, 100% that would work. Okay, does that make sense? That works. It's basically like factoring out a 1/2. That totally works. Anything else? We good? Did you understand why it didn't work the other way when I said no at first? Because I can't distribute before I square? That wasn't what he was saying, but that's what I was hearing. Okay. All right, one more. So on the paper, go ahead and rotate. Why not? On the paper that's in front of you, we have one last one. H of x is equal to 6 over x plus 5 minus 8. Okay. We good? Go ahead, once you write that down, come up with an F and a G. Okay. Rotate. Try not to rush you, but and substitute, or not substitute, but compose f of g of x. Okay. What do we think? Anybody have any questions? We all look good on the first one? All right, rotate. Come up with a second. Is it getting a little easier for you to come up with these? Yes, maybe. Discuss with your shoulder partner if you're not sure what to come up with. All right, rotate, compose. I don't care what you're doing with whatever. You cannot do that during class, dear. Okay. All right. Did we check them? We're good? Okay. Oh, hang on. Goodness, this wig is just causing me all kinds of issues here. All right. Give me a g of x on your paper that you think is correct.
6 over x plus 5.
Okay. And if g of x is 6 over x plus 5, what would f of x have to be? X minus 8. Very good. Let's see. I'm pretty sure that works, right? 6 over x plus 5 minus 8. All right. So before we do this last one, I want you to look at all of your g of x's. What does every single g of x have in common? It all has a variable in it, because some people are trying to put numbers over there, and we do that when we are, and g of x could just be 7, like that is a possibility for sure, but not in this particular case, but because we're composing two different functions and we're trying to do it this way, then really it's got to be, variables in both. Okay, good deal. All right, so last one. Alejandra, again. It's your lucky day. What do you have? What's a g of x on your paper you think is correct? X plus 5. And then what would that make f of x? Minus 8. Okay. Y'all agree with that? Okay. Then I want to talk about one more. There's really, when it comes down to it, yes, when I say, I think there's only 2 here. There's really an infinite amount if you want to, think outside the box some. So if we go back up here and we think outside the box kind of like this, couldn't I do the same kind of thing and say I want g of x to be 2x plus 10? Then f of x would have to be 8 over what? 1/2 x, because when I substitute it in there, I'm going to have parentheses around it, right? And so, we could make this into anything that you needed to make it into when you're separating them apart, okay? I wanted y'all to at least see the very basics today, but it's good that you're seeing that stuff too, okay? Any questions at all? All right, so flip the paper back over. I should have had you put your names on it. Figure out who belongs to, give it back to them.